In this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips that can help you lose weight, and honestly, they're going to be kind of unusual. These are things that you probably haven't heard before, or at least not very often, because let's be honest, you know you should probably eat less, move more, eat vegetables, eat plenty of protein. Let's give you some strategies that can help you accomplish the weight loss that I see almost nobody else talking about. Alright, the first thing that can really help you with your weight loss goals is start being okay with walking away from and throwing away food. Most of us, and probably you as well, were raised that you don't walk away from food, right? Like you don't leave the table until you've finished your plate. It's wasteful. Food is expensive. If you're from my area, you probably heard this one. There's starving children in China. But anyway, the point is, especially if you're full, you don't have to finish everything that you're eating. If you go to a restaurant and you've paid for this food just because it's there doesn't mean you have to eat the rest. In fact, it's a good idea to walk away, especially if you're in the US where they give such huge portions. If you're at a friend's house or at a family member's house and there's all this food around, just because the food's there doesn't mean you have to eat it. And sure, there'll be some food pushers and people questioning you, but at the end of the day, your goals are your goals and they're not really gonna care. So don't force yourself to eat something you don't really even want to eat. Same thing goes if there's stuff around the house. Maybe you had some things from before that you no longer want. It's hard for you to keep things under control. If you had a party and there's all this leftover food, you don't have to eat it until it's all gone. I'm not saying you should make anything off limits, but if you're having a hard time with it in the house and you want it gone, just get rid of it. Now, this next tip is a little bit of a mind trick, but it can be really useful. Something that I use a lot. It's about eating foods that are smaller, but not necessarily in terms of like voluminous foods. Like for instance, there's these Aldi puff things that I really like that are pretty low calorie, decent fiber source, take up a lot of space. And if you compare that to what you would get for some sort of nut, you're gonna get way more food, but I'm not even referring to that. I'm referring to, say, I like to have asparagus. Well, believe it or not, if you look at these two pictures, they're both 180 grams of asparagus. But look at how much more food it looks like you're getting with these smaller asparagus than with the bigger ones. It just feels like I'm getting so much more food. It's the same amount of food, same amount of calories, but it does something for your mind to feel more full. Now, this third tip will go completely in the face of what most people will say when it comes to dealing with your cravings. What do most people tell you? They say you need to find strategies to squash those cravings or to do something else so you get distracted by those cravings. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying give in to your craving. Now, give me a moment here. Don't freak out. Yes, have the things that you're craving. I'm not saying you should just binge on them and you should go crazy. And certainly in the beginning stages, if you're not used to this, it can be kind of difficult and require a bit more willpower, but over time, you're gonna get less cravings and see better results by doing this. Because think about it, when it comes to cravings, you never crave things that you have frequently. You never crave things that you can have whenever you want. You crave things that you feel like you shouldn't have or can't have, and you restrict them, and then the more you restrict it, the more it's on your mind, and what happens? Now you eventually have it and you snap and you try to get in as much as possible because you know you're not going to have it again. I'm telling you to have that craving. Not a lot of it, maybe just a serving of whatever it is you like. Maybe even plan it into your days and just say, hey, I'm going to have this one thing that I really look forward to. I'm going to plan around that and I'm going to have it every single day. And what happens? You start getting used to this. It takes some of the stigma away from it, and now you're in control. And if you do this and you just account for it, that's gonna help with weight loss a hell of a lot better than white knuckling it until you finally snap and binge on it and completely overshoot your calories and just continue this binge restrict pattern. All right, here's another tip that kind of goes against what I hear most of the time. I'm telling you, drink those diet drinks. If you like diet soda, if you like energy drinks, drink them. They can be super helpful. And I'm not here to say they're the healthiest thing in the world. I don't personally think, if you look through the research, that we know that they're bad for us. I really don't. Now, yes, in like absurd doses, in doses that you can never possibly do, and in rats, sure, they have shown to be negative, but the toxicity is always in the dosage. And when it comes to your health, one of the biggest indicators is pretty much the amount of body fat you carry. If you're obese, that's going to give you a much higher likelihood of having poor health markers than having some Diet Coke if you like it. And sometimes, man, it just gives you a little bit of a mental break. It gives you something that you look forward to that tastes good. It can actually help you feel more full between, especially like carbonated beverages that have the bubblies that kind of fill you up a little bit. If they're caffeinated, caffeine is actually appetite suppressant, so they can be helpful to help you stay on plan. I'm all for including diet drinks. All right, so this is number 5, but don't go anywhere. I actually thought of a bonus tip I want to give you after this one. And while this one, you've probably heard a little bit more, I'm going to bring a bit different spin to it, and that's prioritizing sleep. Yes, prioritizing sleep can impact your results. It will help you with fat loss, retaining more lean body mass. There's a lot of really good physiological things that come with sleep, but I would argue it has an even bigger impact on your fat loss results, more because of what happens mentally when you're well rested. I mean, just think about almost any time in your life when you've really struggled with staying on your plan, when you've been really exhausted, when you've been really frustrated. It's almost always when you're tired and fatigued. And it's just true. If you're sleeping well and well rested, you're gonna make better nutritional choices and be less likely to do things against your best interest. I'm telling you, sleep is probably the most underrated aspect of a fit lifestyle. It just impacts everything, so prioritize it. All right, so now for that bonus tip, and if you're someone who has always struggled with losing weight only to gain it back, or just really struggle in general with weight loss, there's a pretty good chance it's because you're looking at foods as either good or bad and have developed an unhealthy relationship with food. But that's just one of several reasons why it can be so hard to lose the weight and keep it off. So what I want you to do next is check out this top video to see what you need to do to finally lose the weight and keep it off. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead, and I'll see you in that other video.